Hi everyone, this is Amber Hall, your Curriculum Director, bringing you an update on our grading practices on behalf of the Secondary Grading Committee. As of May, this current month, here are just a few updates. We had a large committee meeting on April 24th, consisting of the grading committee plus any middle school or high school staff that wanted to participate. We wanted to meet to get a pulse on how things were going, as well as look at what is needed for the future or the immediate future for 2019-20 regarding grading practices. Here are some of the results of that meeting. Staff are feeling overall a little more comfortable understanding that a 50% floor on a 100-point scale minimizes the severe downward pull of a 0. A 50% on a 100-point scale also mathematically equates to a 0 on a 4-point scale. An easy example is that using a 4-point scale, a 0 and a 4, those two grades average to be a 2 or a C. Likewise, averaging a 50% and a 100% on a 100-point scale averages to 75% or a C, unlike averaging a 0 and a 100% on a 100-point scale, which averages to be 50% or still an E. Also, many staff have tweaked their weighting and their use of summative formative assessment to more accurately reflect proficiency throughout the school year. And so they're feeling a little more comfortable with the 50% floor overall. However, staff would like additional parameters added for using 50% floor, such as having all assessments complete in order to pass the course for the marking period for the semester. High school staff would like to have a way to also evaluate work ethic or employability skills in 2019-20 on the report cards, which we are looking at as making optional next year. And staff would like consistent language for using the 4-point scale for 2019 and 20. In the pilots we've had this past year, some of the different departments are using different language, so we need to have consistency. We also discussed at the April meeting that there has been some confusion about the following terms: standards-based grading, standards reference grading, 4-point scale, and competency-based learning. And so we've created a page with definitions for these 4 terms, as well as examples for you to take a look at. I'm just going to scroll down very slowly, and you can look at more leisurely when you have a minute. We've also given links to resources. Moving forward into 2019-20 with regard to the 50% scale, we are looking at continuing to use this as the floor if staff are using a 100-point scale. Therefore, Jupiter will be set up the same way as the current year. To pass a marking period or semester, all summative assessments must be complete. In other words, students may not simply put their name on an assessment and turn it in with the understanding that that 50% averaged in with a higher grade they've already earned will allow them to pass the course. Departments and PLCs, though, should have some conversation in the fall or before about completion of summative assessments so that all teachers are on the same page within the same department and PLC. As the grading committee members started to discuss this, they noted that there could be some differences, slight differences, depending on your department. And so it's important that you have those conversations prior to the school year starting. We also want you to continue to collaborate with colleagues and tweak weighting and use of summative formative to accurately reflect proficiency of academic standards. In other words, if you still have concerns about using the 50% floor, please get with one of the members of the grading committee or other colleagues who are using it and using it effectively and successfully. Also, consider using the employability skills rubric to reflect the assessment of non-academic standards. Work ethic is important. It's really important, and we know that. However, ideally, we'll have an academic grade and then a non-academic grade. Speaking of employability skills, the high school teachers on the grading committee have created a draft for a rubric to use to assess employability skills, and you can access it and take a look at it. It has 4 categories: accountability, which contains work ethic, being on time and prepared, and so forth; communication, using appropriate language; interacting respectfully with peers and adults, leadership, character, positive attitude, taking initiative, and teamwork, carefully considering multiple perspectives, resolving conflict, adapting flexibly to change, etc. What we're looking at is having the option of 2 grades showing up on the report card next year for each class that uses employability skills. This would be comprised of an academic letter grade and a numeric employability skills score. A key for the employability skills will print on the report card, as well as a link to the rubric for parents and students to view. 1 overall score will be entered on the report card for employability skills that would be averaging these 4 categories: accountability, communication, leadership, and teamwork. The use of the rubric is not mandatory, but will be piloted next year, revised if needed, and then we're looking at all staff using it the following year in 2020-21. And for sure, we'll have instructions on how to enter employability skills on the report card as we get closer. 4-point scale. So common language for the 2019-20 school year. It's very similar to what the high school science department was using this year. Advanced understanding at a level that would allow students to teach others. 3 is proficient, shows independent proficiency with standards, demonstrates in-depth understanding. Developing proficiency with support. Beginning shows beginning level of proficiency, but support is necessary. And then 0 is not enough evidence. There shows little or no knowledge, skill, or understanding. Please note, if you're thinking about using a 4-point scale, it's not as easy as just converting to entering in 43210 in a grade book. You really need to be thinking about what it means to be proficient. In other words, what kind of expectations do you have for students, and are you communicating those expectations very explicitly to students on what it means for them to demonstrate proficiency? This is deep thinking work, and we've not really started this part of our journey, but we do have a small cohort of staff who are starting this journey, working with a consultant this summer. So in other words, you may want to hold off and carefully consider this before jumping into using a 4-point scale. Have some conversation with others in your department or PLC. Finally, professional learning on grading practices. So I just mentioned that we have a competency-based learning cohort of teachers. 25 teachers across K-12 have just started working with a consultant to begin this journey. Their feedback along the way and our team's collective learning from their journey will help to create a path for others to follow within the next 2 to 3 years. This is new territory for us, so we're going to go slow and carefully. But for next year, staff who want to try using standards-based grading or using the 4-point scale must attend a half-day workshop prior to using this in the fall and have permission from the principal and assistant curriculum director, Allison Walrath, to pilot. So see our PD menu for workshops that are available. And please note that Jupiter needs special setup for standards-based grading, and we cannot wait until the last minute to do this. So August 20th is actually the last date of the last SBG workshop that we're offering. And so be sure that if you're interested in that, you sign up for one of those workshops. And finally, we're excited to announce that in November, we are welcoming Rick Wormelli during Ed Camp. Mr. Wormelli is a popular consultant, presenter, and author on grading practices. Last, the secondary grading committee would like feedback, especially from high school staff, about the use of the employability skills rubric going into next year. We've had some debate about how to use this rubric, and so we'd like your feedback. Please take a few moments to answer the questions at this link and offer your thoughts regarding the draft of the rubric. And as always, please continue to reach out to secondary grading committee members with questions, concerns, and suggestions. Thanks for your participation, your attention, and your collaboration.